things we've talked about so far tonight. But if you look at the attacking and defensive win rates of both of these teams throughout the entire throughout the entire group stage so far, Nocturns, they win more on defense by like a 6% split, and flipped for Arial Arise. Arial Arise win more on the attack. They're a stronger attacking team than they are a defensive team. And yes, that's a product of the maps they've played this season, but also it's a product of, yes, the team that they are and the side they prefer, the side they are simply better on. Both of these maps arguably should have been attacker-sided, and the power of Nocturnes is that they were able to flip that on its head completely, turning Coastline into a defender-sided map. Question is, can they do the same here? Because coming into this matchup, Arial Arise, they chose the attacking side, which is understandable on Chalet, but given what they know now and seeing how Coastline went, I wonder if they might be regretting that decision.
Yeah, so far, defender-sided Coastline, maybe defender-sided Chalet. We'll have to see, though. I don't quite know about that. Look at the attacker bans. It is Lion and Thatcher. While Thatcher is very, very, very normal, Lion, Lion has played a fair bit on this map, but we still see a lot of Zero. We see a lot of Nomad. Lion is not the end-all, be-all flank watch for Chalet. And look at this. Wamai is banned, Jonah, meaning that the shield play has already been weakened significantly. But Flores has been left up. Typically, we see, Flores is banned on the attack, so Wamai has to be banned on the defense. But with just the Wamai off the board and Flores still up, I feel like that's a pretty big advantage in the attacker's court. We also have to remember, Nocturnes aren't running it just yet. But Mira is also available.
A bit surprising to not see the Mira right off the board, especially given the defensive bans that we've seen, right? You lose your Valkyrie and a lot of intel potential. You lose your Wamai and a lot of extension potential, right? With those deployable shields, like you just mentioned, Harrison. And so to counter that, what is an operator that can give you a good bit of intel and time delay with area denial that you no longer have because of those deployable shields? Yeah, it's the Mira. She has both of those things. And while she's not viable on every site equally, she is an incredibly powerful operator that, if used right, can not obviously match the intel of Valkyrie or the projectile denial of the Wamai, but still can be very impactful, to say the least. For now, Nocturnes will leave her on the bench and maybe consider bringing her out a bit later. Considering that they've got this more aggressive lineup, though, they may not be going for as heavy of an anchor play, right? They've got the Melusi and the Vigil and the Mozzie, 3 operators who often serve in that roaming role, especially Sykes. We're likely going to see him darting all over this aggressive map with that Vigil.
We've also got Gomez on Nook. I'm very excited to see what he does with that. But as Wimpy gets the opening pick, Lackey sprints out downstairs from, I don't even really know what that room is called. That's Vents, right? I think that's Vents.
Yes, yeah.
Because there's Vents in it. Yeah. Lackey's going to run out below, and Sykes just retakes Solar by himself up the stairs. Down goes the Repel player, and, Wimpy's able to get a refrag, but it's him and Diaz in a 2 versus 3 now. They've got time, right? They've got 1:30 left. Sure, they're suffering in man count, but they've still got the Sledge. They've still got the Flores to do away with any site utilities. So, although it's a one-man disadvantage, it's still not over for Arial Arise. I think they still have a pretty decent chance, depending on how they use this vertical.
Yeah, I agree. If there's any 2 operators, you want left in this fight, I'd argue it's perfect for the Sledge and the Flores. Diaz still has all of those Rotero drones, so can get incredibly destructive in terms of removing that site utility. Not to mention, Wimpy has the vertical play and 2 grenades in pocket, both of which have viable guns as well. So this is not even by any stretch of the imagination, but it is not too far from it. Nocturnes will still have to play this to perfection if they want to stop these last 2 Arial Arise attackers from finding some success. But 40 seconds are all that remains for Diaz and Wimpy to make something happen, and right now, still focused on the vertical play, they haven't quite been able to find these last few Nocturnes defenders. In fact, Nocturnes have backed on off at least most of the way. They're not contesting kitchen proper, nor dining all the way back towards Fireplace Hall, and one player on this top floor playing with fire and getting punished for it. Lackey hoping to get aggressive, getting a little bit cheeky on that flank, but no real reason to do that, and paying the price as a result. But a great shot from Marmalade drops Diaz, forces Wimpy to recover this round, and Fico on the swing from West Main, shutting down the last player standing and confirming an opening defensive win for Nocturns.
It was a good try by Arial Arise, but I mean, the real nail in the coffin was Sykes retaking into Solar, left unchecked, demolishing those pushers. I mean, the 2v3, I like the way both teams played it. So, of course, you have Arial Arise slow down. They're like, all right, we got to take the vert. We'll see if we can shove the anchors off, see if we can get any free picks, fish around, whatever. And Nocturnes played it well by peeling all the way back. Again, not giving Arial Arise the opportunities that they were looking for. So good on Nocturnes. And although the player, like you said, upstairs, the flanker of, I think it was Lackey, was playing with fire, it was perfectly timed. I mean, you saw Arial Arise, both the members go barreling towards that guy. And sure, Lackey didn't stand a goddamn chance. But you see how much time was left? They got that kill with about 20 seconds remaining. That means they've got, not only did they get that kill, they got to sprint all the way back to Trophy Stairs. They've got barely any time remaining. It allows the players on site to reposition to kill them when they come down the Trophy Stairs because, they no longer have to worry about that vert play. And that little flank, although it wasn't successful in the terms of kills, I think was still very influential. So well done to Nocturnes, not letting that spiral out of control despite Arial Rise's attempt at a comeback. And now we'll move on to Bar. Again, a very standard setup, it appears, with, of course, the chimney shield, a top blue hold as well. And, of course, assisted by the Mira.
Yeah, we saw a little bit of a 6-pick dance around thing in the in the pick phase. We saw Arial Arise teasing the Ying and Nocturnes teasing the Goyo. And likely to counter the Goyo, Arial Arise said, you know what, let's bring out the Flores as well. We'll ditch the Ying for now. And Nocturne said, you know what, we don't need the Goyo. Let's pull out the Mira instead and bring out this operator who we chose to ignore in the previous round. I'd argue that switch up ended up favoring Nocturnes because that Flores is not going to be as nearly as helpful as it would have been against those deployable Vulcan shields that the Goyo would have brought. Now, Marmalade and Sykes both still have a deployable shield, so Diaz will find some solace in that and can still use those Rotero drones in generally their strongest utilization area. Now, we will have to see how they want to take this top floor control first, though, because they haven't done that, and Sykes is still on the prowl, using this deployable shield as, naked as it is without those Wamai magnets. It's still a very powerful position that Arial Arise are going to struggle to counter. Gomez hoping to be this element of surprise. He'll pop right up and Potato Fest, and Sykes wins that one. Fico will win that fight against Kento as well, and Nocturnes once again find themselves on the opening end of these duels.
So they'll give up chimney control for now, but at what cost? Arial Arise losing, they lose a Nook. Big whoop. But it is nades, and it is a body. Kento as well, dead on the Twitch. Drones that could still be used to clear out site utility and clear mirror windows and such. And the Jaeger of Lackey is going to get away scot-free, rotating through, back now behind the blue shield as well, which has yet to be cleared. Wimpy's going to go ahead and try to play some vert, getting angles down into bar stock. Marmalade backs off all the way down blue stairs, but Lackey looking like he wants to make a play. This is already a good angle if he's playing on the shield. You can fully see anyone attempting to come through the library connector. This should be an easy one for him, and there it is, the headshot onto Wimpy. Wimpy attempting to distract Lackey from the Flores drone clearing his shield. It ends up costing him his life. Now it's just Diaz and Beastly. One kill comes through the hatch. Good shot from Diaz as Marmalade, maybe a bit of poor positioning, costs her the rest of her gas canisters, but still, 30 seconds left. Nocturnes have double the men of Arial Arise, and there is not a lot of hope for Arial in this round unless they're able to isolate the 1v1s. But Nocturnes, they're doing what they did last round. They're doing what they did on Coastline. They are simply not exposing themselves. They are denying Arial of the opportunities, and when they do show their face, they land their shots. Nocturnes take round number 2 after a beautiful top floor hold.
Clean around from Nocturnes again, and Yeah, that's as textbook as it gets. This time, there was no early round from Arial Arise that was tremendously successful. Nocturnes didn't give up an early pick. They stayed stalwart on the site. They didn't get over aggressive. They sat back and they waited for Arial to dig themselves in a deeper and deeper hole. And I guess, I mean, not too much on the fault of Ariel Arise. That's exactly what happened. It really was just Nocturnes outplaying them. And at some point, there wasn't much you could do. When you fail on your initial top floor clear to take out the blacktop player and to take out the person sitting at the top of those blue stairs, things get very, very difficult for you very, very quickly. And we saw that happen for Ariel Arise. At some point, they got desperate. They tried to just force the player off the top of blue stairs with a combination of a swing from Wimpy and a Rotero drone, but the timing, they just didn't line up properly, so Lackey was able to get a really nice headshot, removing the sledge, removing the key component of that vertical play. It just seemed that every little thing went the favor of Nocturne's defense yet again. That is 2 rounds in a row that Ariel Arise have been unable to secure on the side of the map that they wanted to start. They're going to have to clean things up on the attack yet again. Otherwise, we may see a very similar outcome to what we saw in Coastline, Harrison.
5 seconds left before insertion.
Yeah, it's already worrying for Ariel. And
Attackers are moving out from located
Gomez will swap off of the Nook onto Iana. So, operator with a little bit more utility to her name. The Nook is kind of a gimmick pick. Has not worked twice. I'm glad Gomez is finally bringing someone a little bit more useful to the team. Nocturnes as well, of course, this is a master bedroom defense. And Ariel Arise are going for a solar take. There's a minimal take that has a decently high success rate. You don't really have to take much except for trophy to ensure your boys can't get flanked. And as long as the stairs are clear, usually the rappel in is pretty safe as well. And if you can open up that site wall, it gives you a hell of a lot of control and for not a lot of cost.
With that control, they're hoping to force Nocturnes back and try to maybe get aggressive. We can see Ariel bunching up downstairs in Trophy, maybe trying to push up Solarium and take from this north side. Still patient for now that we've just reached about 60 seconds into this round, and we can hear that Beastly getting those X-Kairos pellets down, trying to open up a couple of angles that they can utilize to establish these really long lines of sight into the objective. But both Sykes and Exot have something to say about that. They are getting aggressive on this downstairs retake, trying to catch out these trophy players, nearly catching the back of Gomez as he made the sprint to the top floor. Thankfully for Gomez, though, he will make it upstairs alive and will join Kento and the rest of his team in pushing out of bathroom here and beginning to get a lot more aggressive. That aggression is going to net them a down onto Marmalade, who's dropped to her back. And now this one, it's going to go in the favor of Ariel Arise now that Gomez gets a nade kill and Diaz gets a great headshot.
2 versus 5 now as Kento shuts down Lackey on his bathroom push. Sykes and Exod, the 2 men downstairs with it all to do. Nice shot onto Gomez, but they've still got to get past the trophy window player, and Diaz will collect 1. Looking for the second, he and Sykes trade blows, but unfortunately the Vigil cannot land enough shots, and Impact out in desperation will not connect with the Flores. And, well, he's kind of stuck here. Sykes now between a rock and a hard place, getting shot from 3 different directions at once. Eventually, Wimpy will mercy kill the Vigil. And Ariel Arise, for the first time on this map, will take a point after a very well-executed attack. The thing I really like about it, too, was even though they knew there were 2 people downstairs, they simply did not deal with it. They saw it was a Malusi, they saw it was a Vigil, said, hey, they don't have C4. We don't really have to worry about this. All they need is Diaz on the trophy window, and all the other 4 members can focus on their push, overwhelm the site, and that's exactly what they did.
Harrison, I'll even go and double down on that. Not only did they see those players downstairs and choose to ignore them, but once they saw those 2 players, they said, you know what? This is a good of a reason as any, a good a time as any, to start pushing into this site. If we know there are 2 players downstairs and we can isolate them and not let them rotate up Solarium, we can make this execute happen in a 5 versus 3. And they did that to perfection, right? They made sure somebody was watching the stairs in case some sort of flank came out, which, of course, Exod and Sykes were not going to just be dumb enough to walk up the stairs into their graves, but they just stayed downstairs, didn't rotate all the way around in time. And so Arial, by taking advantage in that moment and being very decisive, once again returning to those aerial routes that we just haven't seen enough of tonight, that's how they were able to find that success. So that is exactly the recipe that they need to continue to be cooking up as we get into these further rounds. They need to continue with that decisiveness. When they see an opening, they need to take advantage, because in the rounds they're unable to secure, they just get a little bit too indecisive. They just slow down at those pivotal moments, those transition points between that clear and that execute. If they can just get to that execute phase much earlier in the round, I think they're going to find a lot more success in the next 3 rounds of their attacking half.
I definitely agree. That's something, again, a difference that we saw between Stage 2 KCP and Arial Arise early in the season. Wow.
Wait a minute. Excuse me?
Wow. That might be one of the luckiest wallbangs I have ever seen in my life. So he just spammed through the west main window, through the wall. Like, he was just opening the window, and one bullet just went through the wall and caught the Echo's head. You gotta feel for Exod there. I mean, that is just not even on him. That was luck of the draw.
Well, that draw now means that Arial are actually going to field to get aggressive once again, this time dealing with that extension on this top floor. Gomez, walking into that, actually finds himself in a tough crossfire, and without Kento to assist because he'd been taken out a moment ago, he's going to back off before he gets himself into more trouble. In fact, now cut down to 1 HP means that he is going to have to be very careful about how he approaches the rest of this round. Thankfully, though, for Arial, you've got a great nade in the hands of Wimpy, and that will finish off the downed Sykes. So a 4 versus 3, but if Gomez just gets breathed on, it'll be a 3 versus 3 quickly. But Arial Arise have a lot of control to speak of, right? They've got this top floor control, they've got the vertical control now building, and it's just about taking this pressure and turning it to an execute. Only one player remains on this top floor, a player that has now been droned out and discovered, so a player that should more than likely rotate downstairs quickly, and that they will. Or actually, no, Lackey stays up here. Still refusing to rotate away, and this could get dangerous very fast.
Beasley will get the kill on Marmalade, though, so now Lackey's position upstairs is even more important if he can find it, but no, Wimpy shuts him down, and it's just FICO in a 1 versus 4. Attempting to get aggressive on these players in Trophy, knowing he's got to make a play. He'll go in, destroy the Iana clone, but that's all his shots will connect with. Diaz, who lit him up earlier from the Trophy drone hole, FICO went back, licked his wounds, and got healed by the Thunderbird. And Diaz finishes his kill off a little bit late, but still grabs it. Arial Arise get their second attack. They tie us up 2-2. It looks like they've fixed a lot of the issues we saw in the earlier rounds.
Yeah, I'm excited for this. We're finally seeing Arial return to form, at least on the attack, and again, at least until Nocturns make some adjustments of their own. But at the very least, the adjustments we've seen from Arial have been productive, and they're doing really what we've been asking them to do now for 1.5 maps. Speeding up, getting more aggressive, and playing the game they play so freaking well. Just push into sight and take gunfights, right? Don't dilly-dally. Get that control and do something with that control. They gave us a perfect example of that in round number 4. They fought their way. It was tough, but they fought their way in taking that top floor control. Once they did that, they wasted no time getting the vertical play going, figuring out if there was anybody else on that top floor, thus identifying Lackey's position, and from there, they knew they had one player isolated, meaning it would be a 4 versus 2 on the bomb site, and that is when they made their move. Lackey, he had to force the issue at that point. With your teammates falling around you, you don't want to be a baiter. You want to just push in there and get something done. And unfortunately, that Hail Mary type play for Lackey did not pay off. So tied up at 2 now. The early success from Nocturns now stalled out. The bleeding for Arial Arise also stopped. Now we can finally see which of these teams is going to make that adjustment first. Who is going to get on the right foot? And, well, yeah, that is a tough way to begin if you're Arial. You're losing Kento, player who has been completely shut down of this map. Going 1-4 right now, dying to a spawn kill. That is not going to help the mental.
Yeah, unfortunate. That's the Twitch too, who can be a powerful operator in taking out the utility protecting the blue shield. If you can sneak the shock drone in there, you can completely do away with any of that protection. As well, they'll spot Lackey inside of lobby, but he has since dropped, so Gomez can't get a freebie, and will eventually, cut his losses and rappel on upstairs.
A bomb has
Maybe
been located.
soon. He's thinking twice about it because he just got, I think, tagged by the alibis. He's making sure he won't get run out on. Arial Rise, again, although losing the Twitch, it's not the biggest deal in the world. Again, she is extremely helpful and she can be extremely influential, but she is not, an end-all be-all. She's not like a Flores or a Sledge or something on this side. But Arial Rise, I mean, they've taken a bit to start getting into the building, and I don't even believe they've really got their clear down just yet. Never mind. Okay, I can see the silhouette now. Wimpy has made his way into library, supported by DS, but they've got to worry about not only, the top blue player and all that stuff, but Sykes also coming in from piano.
Yeah, lots more to worry about here, made even further now that Sykes is quickly cut down. Wimpy deals with that very easily. Thankfully, though, you've got Marmalade, who will clap back right away in the way that she has been doing all night long. That's another nice kill with the SMG-11, maintaining the 4v3 for Nocturns. All they've got to do now is what we just saw from Marmalade, continue to play the trade game. Because if you do, with the man advantage you hold right now, you will win this round. There's no question. But Gomez, well, he's got it on his mind to change something up. Still nervous that somebody could be coming up on the flank. Understandable, given the aggression we've seen from Nocturns in the past. But the rest of this team, they could be gearing up for this push. Beastly now with Diffuser in hand, going towards this game's window, looking to make a push happen. And with Gomez covering this cross, it could very well come very soon.
Beastly's going to get aggressive before going for the plant, and it will net him the pick onto Exod. Again, Diaz has the cover. He's going to flash in just to delay any late pushes. He almost catches the Jaeger, but he spots him going upstairs, and he looks away just as another player exposes themselves. Gomez finds FICO as Lackey retakes into library, looking towards the Iana, lands a couple shots onto him, but no, cut down by the window player of Diaz, who has since evacuated the site and gone upstairs. It's Marmalade, very low HP, one gas canister in hand, but she cannot fight back against Diaz with the vertical control, and Arial Rise now take the lead.
Best attacking round we've seen from Arial so far tonight. Hands down, I think that was just clean. Even though things got dicey and even though Nocturnes held that advantage, Arial said, you know what? Instead of hunting for these frags and forcing the issue and clearing out these last few players that are going to be very tough to clear out in a disadvantage, let's push the site and let's get aggressive. And that's exactly what they did. They rotated around downstairs out towards games, opened up that window. Beastly with a diffuser in hand, he just hopped right in, got that bomb down, and there was, nothing else you could do if you're Nocturnes. It was Arial deciding to push into this site and get the bomb down quickly. And that's how they were able to find the success.
Yeah, Nocturnes,
Attackers need to locate and defuse as
I don't
many
know.
bombs as they can.
The round started off really good for them. I'm trying to think about and pinpoint what exactly happened. I guess it was just, well, one of the things that was really confusing to me, Jenna, is why there was no one in bar stock.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like, that is the easiest way to deny that window jump in, right? Because at that point, you had already killed the Sledge in library, and it was what? It was two people coming from the window, one pushing down blue. If you just had someone bar stock, there's no one on the hatch. You could just peek the guy planting. If you had a C4 there, maybe even if Marmalade was playing there, she could be gassing out the window. But yeah, that was an odd position to not play from Nocturnes. So they've got one more chance. But Jonah, the takeaway that we can glean from this is that because of Arial Rise's very slow start, if this is a traditional attacker-sided Chalet, Nocturnes already have their quota filled. They've already got their 2 defensive rounds. And if they can take this one, then they are in a good position heading to the second half. But Gomez just waltzes right into the building unabated and finds FICO sitting in the middle of the room.
Yeah, I think Arial are done messing around and they just want to get this attacking half over with, move on to the defense, and finish out their opponent's map. You can see it in Gomez's playstyle right now. He just rolls right into Piano, not a care in the world, and goodbye, Lyco. So now it's Nocturns who are the ones fighting from a disadvantage, and that is not where they wanted to be this far in this map, on their own map pick, no less. We'll see exactly what they can do in response. What we've seen from them in terms of aggressive plays to, bounce back from disadvantages, those have really been the problem areas for Nocturnes. I think they just need to stay patient here. They just need to stay controlled. And at least for now, by all indicators, that is exactly what's happening. You've got one player rotating down below, as is pretty standard, and you've got several players still holding this top floor. And now one player tucked in Piano, likely the next player in the line of sight for Arial. But wait a second here, Beastly getting this plant down. No one, if we're Nocturne, is going to respond to this. Great coverage from Kento. Bomb now secured. A double kill for Gomez, and Lackey and Sykes have to pull out a miracle here. Great shot from Lackey, so that's something, but losing Sykes in the process means this is a 1v4. Well, there's one kill. Wimpy says goodbye. But 3 players have to be found in only 30 seconds for Lackey to find these and get this diffuser taken care of. It is not looking good for him as he walks into a lethal crossfire. Wimpy will secure that final blow, and Arial Arise will come back from a 2-round deficit, taking 4 rounds in a row and securing a pretty successful attacking half.
And the attack was beautiful, wasn't it? From Arial, completely swapping up. No solar push. They went full library over, taking out the mute jammer, opening the wall, not a single problem, even getting a free kill at the beginning of the round. And you could tell, too, Nocturnes didn't do anything to stop the plant because of the position Lackey was playing. He was holding that pixel from the half wall into default plant. Or he was holding by the black wall into half wall, where the default plant is. But Beasley decided to plant back because, well, there was someone on the Piano double to cut off Lackey should he push forward to find that angle. So it was another case of Arial Arise not doing what they did on Coastline, doing the opposite, having all the control they need, taking the extra step to ensure that every angle is covered, and only going for the execute when they can be sure that they can get it down, instead of jumping the gun, instead of just kind of walking straight in and getting a little bit too into the site. You stay on the outskirts, you hold the angles, Nocturnes walks right into them. 4-2 half for Arial Arise. Very well done. A good turnaround from what we saw on Coastline as well. And our first sight on their defense will be Bar. Again, we'll see the Mira be played, but it's in a very different way than we saw from Nocturnes, right? Nocturnes had it facing from Chimney into Library. Here we have it in the Library connector, facing the office balcony and facing the double door with, I imagine, again, the other Mira on site. But it's definitely interesting that Arial Arise, instead of kind of putting more into their Chimney player, they opt to play in the connector instead.
Yeah, it's a risky play if your Library players get taken care of very quickly, but it also can be quite successful, right? Because you're denying so much the pressure from the other side of the map, from that balcony. After all, that's a very common point where attackers like to push and like to nade from to force out that Chimney player and to force out that top floor Library extension. And so Nocturnes will be faced with a decision. How do they want to come up against that, or do they want to just avoid it completely? Initially, it seemed that maybe we were going to see some sort of horizontal clear, but now that we see Sykes rotating around up towards Solarium, joined by a teammate now pushing through Bathroom, it does seem that Sykes and Lackey will be joining their team for this top floor clear. Marmalade as well will now be opening up this wall, facing towards Library from Square here. And with that, establish a pretty common angle that they need in order to deal with these final few players. And this is exactly what the Mira window is for. It can see that breach. It can see this position, and it will have all the intel that the lack of a Valkyrie really makes challenging to obtain otherwise. But now they're going to know exactly where Nocturnes are coming from, when they're pushing that top floor, and how close they are to actually getting that utility cleared and getting those players dealt with.
Where's Lackey going? He hopped from the top floor to look like he wanted to go back up anyway. But yeah, like you said, mirror window, good placement, gets a lot of info. And the thing that's worrying about Nocturnes is they don't have a Twitch, they don't have a Hibana, they don't have an Ace. Bring the Thermite. They don't have anything to directly deal with those windows. The best they can do is, if they take smokes, is to smoke it off or hope to stun the player behind the window. And instead, they're just going to completely switch up the push. They're going to leave people upstairs, but attempt to take horizontally through lobby, through short, and even send Sykes up the main stairs to kill this chimney player. But again, the mirror window is still here. It's watching and waiting. Sykes only takes one bullet, though, and he'll heal it right back up. We'll do battle against Wimpy. Lackey finds the kill on the Gomez, and Wimpy will get pinched right out. Goodbye to the alibi. The top floor players crushed by the unstoppable tide of the Finca. That leaves Diaz alone now. They know exactly where he is. He is not long for this world, and though Beastly gets one back, he's still got 4 to go.
Yeah, not looking great for him. He'll look towards the main lobby, trying to pick up FICO, who actually just gathered that diffuser. Getting this kill here could be impactful, but FICO is not going to let that one happen. So great job there from Nocturns, also stopping the bleeding on their side of things and making quick work of a setup that I doubt they've had to come across very often. Now, one point about that mirror window setup that I actually didn't notice until we saw that player get pushed out and cleared was the fact that in order to play on that window on the left side of connector, they had to reinforce that hatch, right? And the problem with that is the moment the pressure is too much for you to sustain, you no longer have an escape. You can no longer return to the site and join your team. And so by Nocturnes deciding to combine the first floor and second floor pressure, by not putting all of their eggs in the library basket to start, by going into main lobby and collecting a couple of kills on the site, they put those last 2 library defenders in a troubling spot. And that was the decision of, do we try to fight our way out of this and get back onto site, or do we just sit here and hope that we have enough vertical holes and enough coverage on the site below that we can stop a plant? And Nocturnes eventually decided to just clear those players out anyway, given the advantage that they had secured at that point, and given the essential web of control that Nocturnes were able to establish around library and around connector. Those last 2 players didn't really stand a chance. But I love that setup, and I love that creativity we saw there from Arial, and I'd love to see that again, especially utilizing that Mira. I expect that even in that case, the Mira didn't necessarily pay off. It might pay dividends as it gets down to the wire.
That's an interesting Mira. In Master facing Solar, you can just shoot that from the rappel. So, I don't know about that one. But it might not even matter, because Nocturnes aren't pushing Solar. They are going to do a library over top-down take. Lyco burning the Aruni gate early. No one in piano. Actually, no defenders really pushed up front that far. There's just what? I think that was one in office. The other 2 were kind of Solar side. Now that the defense knows what side the attack is pushing, obviously will put down his second mirror window. It's all the way by the plant wall, facing the dining lobby wall. So, I do like that, gives you add a bit of coverage on the site. But again, what I am worried about is the way that the defense is set up to hold this top floor. I don't know if they have enough on the side that the attackers are actually pushing. If they even decide to push it, they might just open the wall and wait.
Right, sometimes you just have to open that wall, and that gives you enough of, quote-unquote control to then turn your focus downstairs to dining and force those defenders back so they actually can't be helpful on the vertical play. Because the vertical play is only as good as you can actually see where the bomb is going down and pressure those attackers who are trying to plant. And if you clear out square, you prevent that exact thing. So here comes FICO now droning out the site. Now that Sykes picks up that kill onto Wimpy, that is going to free up the options for Nocturne on this attack yet again. Sykes will continue this pressure on the top floor, but one nade, quickly grabbed by an ADS, means that it will be a little bit stalled out. And these final few defenders on the top floor from Arial should have a couple more moments to rotate away. Speaking of rotations, actually Nocturnes are putting a lot more stock into this top floor, choosing to rotate FICO up above as well, joining both Lackey and Sykes, really trying to take care of these players. Not sure if it's entirely necessary, but they're really hoping to find these frags to make sure that when they eventually do push the site itself, things would be eventually pretty easy.
Yeah, I think they figure, once the site was open, a couple of those roamers, maybe one or two of them would fall off, making, the eventual top floor clear a little bit easier on them. Which it was, but there's only 25 seconds left, right? They may have all 5 men up, but the time is most certainly not on their side. They will clear the mirror window by the plant wall, so they don't have to deal with that anymore. They're a lot more safe trying to push in. Lackey now in the trophy window has a cutoff as Marmalade gets an entry pick into the site. Sykes finds another with the LMG as Marmalade goes for the plant. Kento here stuck inside of Trophy. He's got a battle against two, but he can't even win against one. And that leaves Diaz alone. DMR in hand, and he can't do anything. Flawless for Nocturns on round number 8. A pitch-perfect attack, opening the walls early, distracting the roamers, forcing one of them to fall back, making the eventual top floor clear easier, and a pretty much perfect transition onto the site.
As perfect as it gets, making the transition and not losing a single body along the way was well done because Nocturnes, they gave themselves a lot of work to do. Often we will see attacking teams, they will elect for the shortcut. And not to say that's a bad thing. They will just elect to maybe not clear out every single inch of the map and force out all those defenders because doing that and taking that much control takes so much time. And that's something that both of these teams have been struggling with on both of the maps here so far tonight. But Nocturnes committing to the full-fledged clear, every inch of the map they wanted secured, and once they had that, as much time as it took, they knew exactly where the last few defenders had to be located, and as long as you had proper coverage, which we saw was applied to perfection, then you can get the plant down and secure the post-plant no problem. Nocturnes did that, and again, not losing a single body along the way is as textbook as it gets. That's 2 rounds in a row. And Arial Arise, they have been unable to continue that streak, that 4-round streak that they had built up on that first half of things. So tied at 4, getting deep into Chalet here. Once again, we find ourselves at a pivotal moment in this game. Are Arial going to be the first ones to make an adjustment, or are Nocturnes going to be able to continue this attacking success just fine and push this advantage even further?
Yeah, Nocturne's attacks so far, both of them, have looked incredible. Teamwork, coordination, the clear, even just the timing, right? The timing so far. I know it's only been 2 attacks, but still, the timing has been impeccable, and that is one of the hardest things to master. You can't convince me otherwise. One of the most challenging things to master in this entire game with all its components is timing. And so far, through these 3 attacks, Nocturnes have had that down perfectly. And an attacking team on an attacker-sided map that has timing as good as that is a dangerous prospect for a defense to try and go up against. So Nocturnes, once again, already very early down into Trench. There are roamers upstairs, not only in dining on the trophy stairs too, that they're going to have to deal with. And as Kento gets aggressive, opening the wall, deals a little bit of damage to FICO and makes the attackers nervous about pushing into this crossfire.
Yeah, Kento doing that, just that is essential to protecting his teammate of Gomez, but actually now that he lost that fight, Gomez is in a big pickle right now because you've got several attackers now bearing down on this position, and yeah, he's not going to be much longer for this world. That is Lackey on a double kill, both of those kills on the roam clear, and once again, Nocturnes making that part of the attack look very easy. Now it comes down to this push. With the Mute Jammer dealt with from above, Marmalade should have no problem getting that exothermic charge down on that wall and opening up that line of sight towards Trench. Beastly, though, will strike first, downing Exod, C4 up and over to finish him off. Still a 4v3 and still Nocturnes in the advantage, but Arial Arise are starting to claw their way back. But if FICO has anything to say about that, it's going to change quickly. Trying to drone out this site with that Gemini clone, figuring out exactly where these final few defenders are positioned. You've got one playing close in the blue hall, one playing up above still, it seems. A player that Lackey is looking to hunt down.
Fortunately for Nocturnes, too, they haven't been able to get any of the walls open. The wine wall is muted, the other cated, and DS is on West Main. The clear from the attackers completely shifting to the other side of the map, leaving the players on Trench exposed to the flank. DS, a big play, seizing the opportunity, leaving Lackey in a 1 versus 3 with only 20 seconds left. Seems like Nocturnes just not really equipped to deal with a garage push, even though it looked fairly simple. Their clear wasn't bad. They had the opening pick. They were just never able to get the utility off the walls. They were stuck in trench for a mighty long time, and that was the central cause of their stall out. Now, Lackey, he's 12-5, looking to pad his stats a little bit more, but he can't win against Beastly, and Arial Arise will, at least for now, sustain their lead.
Yeah, making that 5-4. Looking towards match point is Ariel, but I got to admit, Harrison, that is not the way I expected that round to go, given, the start that we were able to see, right? We saw a very, very good start on the roam clear from Nocturns, and we did see FICO from above, through the hatch, taking care of the mute jammer on that trench wall, facing towards Wine Cellar. From that point forward, I thought the round was over. I thought Nocturns would immediately be quick on the exothermic charge, would get that wall open, and they would just begin that push. Because as we noticed, there was one player going for that dramatic flank. It was Diaz on the Jaeger who tried to just go for that full flank, that full Hail Mary play, leaving the players on the site vulnerable, because a flank like that takes time. But unfortunately, Nocturns not realizing that, not choosing to take advantage of that moment, instead allowing that flank to occur and allowing the time to get the better of them, leaving themselves exposed to that west main stairs and leaving those trench players in a very uncomfortable position. They were no longer able to push in simply because they took too long. In a 5v3, at some point, you got to make the decision, just like, why not push? You can play the trade games, even if you don't know where every single Wine Cellar player was tucked. You can still win that out, no problem. Just play trades, get aggressive, and Nocturnes didn't do that, and they fell victim to the same thing that we've seen a lot of these attacks struggle with on, honestly, both of these teams on both maps.
Yeah, and the stall out was pretty, seemed easy to solve, right? Like, it was a mute jammer on a wall. It was a Cade on another that they eventually cleared, right? That was only after the exothermic charge was already on the red wall. Marmalade, I guess, just didn't feel like picking it up and putting it back down. But yeah, that round was definitely troublesome from Nocturnes. But again, I wonder if it's just the fact that they weren't unequipped to deal with the site. Not used to attacking Garage. Maybe just didn't know how to do it. That's always possible. We see sometimes, these offsites being brought out because you don't expect the other team to know how to attack it confidently. I'm not worried about Nocturnes. The other attacks they've had on the more traditional sites were fierce. And Arial Arise looked completely lost in the sauce. So we go back down to Bar now, where, again, Nocturnes were very dominant after clearing Library.
Yeah, we saw the Mira setup coming out from Arial Arise, the more unexpected Mira setup up in Connector, and just based on a couple of these positions we're seeing being set up from Kento, and the fact that Beastly is working his way upstairs, I think we are going to be seeing the very same thing. Yeah, there it is, securing that hatch with the reinforcement once again, preventing any sort of drop down and rotation, at least from that hatch into Bar itself, but once more allowing for extra control facing towards that northeast side, exactly where we saw Nocturnes approach with that clear last time. I'm trying to take a look to see, what kind of adjustments Arial are making here compared to their Bar and Games defense that was not successful last time, but gotta admit, Harrison, I'm struggling to put my finger on any right now. It seems like a pretty similar setup, and maybe they're just hoping to remedy some of those issues in their positioning on the site and in their gunplay.
Yeah, sometimes teams decide, hey, the strat was not the problem, it was how we played it. So we'll see Arial Arise, attempt again. Very similar strategy, but Ico is going to get all the way up to Bar long with his Iana clone, and see that for the most part, there's really no one on the site. There is someone covering, from inside of Bar stock, and from Blue Stairs. That's pretty much it. There might even be an opportunity that the attackers can seize later in the round. One nade will go up. I am not quite sure what that nade was for, but Sykes will simply walk in, and he does end up getting the entry on a Beastly before Gomez can refrag, but it's still a refrag, so the site will stay safe at least for now. But here's Lackey, bottom blue, taking out Wimpy as Wimpy gets FICO. Another even trade. Nocturnes keep pushing up aggressively, trying to take this advantage, but Arial Arise are just able to narrowly eke out the equalizer every single time, denying Nocturnes of the foothold.
Well, this is where things get troubling for this Library player, right? Stuck, tucked in this corner. You want to be in a quite a bit of trouble if these site players start to fall left and right, and that's exactly what's going to happen to Kento. It's Diaz upstairs, stuck, still managing to get that kill though, which is very impressive, and now returning this to a 2v2, this means Nocturns are the ones who have to get going. Gomez shutting down Marmalade, now lining up two, a great shot onto Lackey, and finishing out the round, allowing that rotation back from above to occur, and just, man, moving things over to match point for Arial Arise, just taking that one and preventing the Nocturnes' aggression from finding success.
Big 3K from Gomez. And again, like I said, it was the trades that came in from Arial every single time. Nocturnes thought that they had a hole, that they had an opportunity they could seize, right? Sykes, or FICO droning out bar, seeing, hey, there's no one in here. Why don't we just take this? Sykes moving in, getting the kill into bar stock, but not knowing Gomez was right around the corner. Same thing with Wimpy. Wimpy getting a kill before Lackey was able to get the refrag. 3-on-3. Even then, I think Lackey was able to get a Kento on the site, but Beastly was there with a trade every single time Nocturnes tried to do something. Arial were right behind them to keep in step, and at the end there, Gomez, he was trapped in a corner, but he was simply better in those gunfights. Shutting down Marmalade, whipping around for the second. Arial Arise 6-4 will go on to Dining. Another site that Nocturnes had won. Very confused as to why we haven't gone Master yet. I feel like with Bar, the situation on Bar was a lot better for the defense than it was on Dining. That was a flawless round from Nocturnes that I would be hard-pressed to find fault in. I don't know if they could have played that any better than they did. So I do question the decision to not go Master. I don't know why they're not going Master, but I'm really hoping for Arial Arise's sake that they don't let Nocturnes walk all over them again.
I mean, again, they do have this 2-round buffer, right? They've got a bit of flexibility to work with, as Nocturnes are the ones down 2 rounds, Arial on match point after all. But only now am I really taking a look at this scoreboard and realizing how problematic this has been for Nocturnes, you know, in these last few rounds. Look how dependent on Lackey and Sykes they are right now. Lackey and Sykes have a combined 24 kills, both double digits, but between Marmalade, FICO, and Exod, they've got 7. That is not exactly the kind of contribution you're looking from everyone, and it is not the kind of contribution that we saw everyone making on Coastline that led them to find so much more success. If you compare that to the side of Arial, you see a lot more of this even split. Wimpy, the only player hitting double digits, everyone else contributing to some degree. Surprising that Kento is the one, you know, at the bottom of the leaderboard right now, but by contributing all around, this Arial roster just showcasing a little bit more depth on Chalet, and that depth is giving them round wins, pure and simple. It doesn't necessarily show itself in one round or another, but over the course of 10 different rounds, this is the kind of score discrepancy you might be able to see. At least in this round, though, nobody dead so far, nobody getting more frags and adding to their tally. Once again, this one beginning very similar to the way it started last time, opening up that top floor square wall, opening up this pressure into office, and that's going to enable now this clear to come through from sites.
Already up towards the bathroom doorway. You can see DS very wary of someone perhaps playing there. Kento, though, is prone right around the corner. DS might be enough of a distraction for the Malusi to get a freebie. Sykes looking as if he might be aware of the crossfire. Lackey out on the Master Rappel will get C4'd, but it'll just be damage, no kill, and there it is. The distraction comes through. A miss drone, in fact, onto Kento. That is unfortunate for Sykes. Here comes the refrag attempt from FICO. He'll light up the Malusi, but not be able to get the kill. He'll continue pushing on through, but falling into the hands of Wimpy, who, again, was not droned. Marmalade will eventually get one back for her team onto Gomez. There's another kill for Arial. All 3 of the top floor roamers chiming in, getting one each. Beastly down on the site with one of his own, and DS finds his second. Arial Arise take the final round in spades, 7-4, as Nocturnes looked like they were walking in with too little intel.
Yeah, see, that right there is the reason why I was confused that Nocturnes wanted to go for that full top floor clear in the previous attempt, but it worked so well, right? So you can't knock it if it's working that impressively, and they got that flawless round. But right there, we saw how it can get you into trouble, and a lot of trouble at that. They just kind of fed kills to Arial, and the round was over before it could really begin, or at least the execute could begin. So a fantastic performance from Arial Arise, especially in that second half to round out this series and to keep us tied up